Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the midweek show here on Eirvy TV.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to beautiful sunny TG Cusick Park for this final game of the group stage of the Slevins Coaches Senior A Hurling Championship between Clonkill and Raharney. I'm Ray Gavin in commentary here. I'm joined today by Paul Doolan in the direction of Niall Mitchell, but good work there by the Raharney backline there, and the ball eventually given out here as far as David Hickey, and he gives a lovely ball in front of the corner forward. That's Owen Ahern. Owen trying to take on his man. That man is Kelvin Riley. Kelvin is sticking tight to him, but a lovely ball given into Owen Keys. Owen bearing down on the goals. There's a chance. What's he going to do? Flings it to the back of the net. Goal inside the opening minute for Owen Keys. What a start.
But he has been excellent for Harney so far in this championship. And when he got in front of goals, Ray, he had only one thing on his mind, and it was an expert finish, in fairness to him.
Yeah, and puck out over on the far side of the field, and Clonkill trying to reply fairly quickly. Luke Loughlin has the ball, comes back around and makes a bit of space for himself, takes a shot at the goals, and the signal has come that that's over the bar. Nice reply there.
Something that probably we're not used to from Killian Doyle, but he went away from the man and was going away from the man with every step virtually.
Yeah, this ball fired in towards the Raharney half forward, but Patrick Scally is back there defending it, and he has it, and the ball is out given up to Jordy Smith, and Jordy miscontrolled it.
It's a super
ball
score.
bounced on the ground, and he pulled on it on the fly and fires it over the bar, dropping balls.
And much like the last day against the Gales, Ray,
yeah, we'll break on with, because Luke Loughlin is in a lot of space here, heading for the 20-metre line, and Luke has a look and fires it over the bar. 2 points already for Luke Loughlin.
The battles you want to see. This is what club hurling, this is what a championship hurling is all about, right?
Yeah, Raharney have done well. Get this ball into the inside line and trying to isolate that man Owen Keys in there again. He's still going, he's right in again, takes a shot. Oh,
a great save. Got a foot to it.
Eamon Cunyon, under pressure, but does very well to get that ball out, and it's gone down long. There's a couple of players in here getting well acquainted with themselves, but Owen Keith, he's on the ball again. He's heading towards the 13-metre line, shrugs off the Clonkill man.
Another goal!
What a goal! What a start by Owen Keys!
And from the very minute...
No, you haven't time to draw breath here, because Aaron McHugh has fired a beautiful puck out, and David Hickey is on the end of him. He backs himself, and that's a great reply by the Raharney man. There was a quality puck out from Aaron McHugh, found his man on the fly, little hand pass and bang over the bar. Economical second line balls here. He cuts this one, lovely ball it is, into the sunlit goals. Couple of players wait for it, and then Owen Keys comes out and gets a stick to it, and he has possession. Lovely hand pass inside, and a great opportunity here, and Killian Doyle will not miss an opportunity like that. But again, Liam under pressure gets it out. Raharney man jumps to the sky, doesn't hold on to the ball, but he has back up and down. They're forced to go back towards their own goals. Mark Lennon, lovely ball sideways to David Hickey. David, fall ball into Cormac Boyle. Cormac with more time than he probably thought he had, but still manages to get that over the bar. No, it's dropping right in here in front of the goal, but
work by Mulcairns,
by Jamie Mulcairns, and on to David Hickey, and the referee signals the half-time whistle here and gives us time here. It was 4 minutes of additional time added, and it certainly gives us time to draw a breath here. But Paul Doolan, a half-time score, I don't think any of us seen it. 2 goals and 7 points for Raharney, 6 for Clonkill. Plenty to shout about. James McGrath's out there now. He's ready to get the second half underway, and certainly he'll be hoping to
and at times,
from where he left off.
At times we forget that there's an extra man on the field with the referee, and I think James McGrath has done an excellent game, had an excellent game so far in this game. He's trying to let it flow as much as possible, and he's calling everything that needs to be called.
Yeah, Clonkill from the throw-in, get the first ball moved in through Kieran Nolan, gets it into Brendan Murtagh. Brendan out in front of Mark Lennon, takes a look at the post, takes a shot, and fabulous score for Brendan Murtagh.
Yeah, and it was one they badly needed, Ray.
Yeah, out James Grant in his position as well, and Andrew Mitchell now comes out and he launches it down here in the sun. Brendan Murtagh goes for, hops off the head of one of the Raharney backs there, and ball given out here to Anthony Price, and Anthony has time to set himself, and he has time to look at the post and fire it over the bar. It's a lovely score, Anthony's first score, and worryingly for the Raharney man, put the space and gives the ball over here to the full forward Niall Mitchell. Niall gets the ball inside. There's a bit of a chance here. Jordy Smith is on it, has a man inside. Luke Loughlin. Luke controls it. Aaron McHugh comes out. Aaron forces him a little bit wide, gives the ball back out. Patrick Scally, is there a charge? The shot comes in. Oh, it's wide again.
2 goals.
And the ball through here, and Brendan Brendan Murta has it. Brendan half hook as he gets the ball in. Raharney have it. Go to ground. Surely a foul. Knows that the referee. The ball thrown up straight to Brendan Murta. Brendan steps into a tackle. Steps back out of it again. Gives it back out to Mikey McGrath. Mikey drops it in and Mikey drops it over the bar. He's a corner back, remember? I don't know, was he trying to play for a little bit of time, but the referee tells him to get on with it, gives the puck out as far as Robbie grabbing it. Robbie gives it inside to Sean Quinn. Sean coming forward, nice low ball in here again with Raharney, but it through Eamon Cunny. Eamon has a look at the post, he takes a shot, dropping in.
That's a super score.
Ball is given in here. There's a foot race here between Brendan Murta and Mark Lennon. Brendan has it. Lovely play there. Gives the ball out into space here for Alan McGrath. He has it. Close to the sideline. Lofts the ball down here. Inviting Luke Loughlin onto it. Good play there by Luke. He takes on his man. He's round him. Sean Quinn. He's gone around Sean as well. Lovely ball across. Jordy Smith. Goal! Goal for a Clonkill. What a turn.
How they're going to cope with it, right?
Ball is in with Sean Quinn. Sean does very well to get possession back. Gives it out to Joey Boyle. Joey looks up again, trying to play an exquisite pass, and Luke Loughlin steps in and intercepts, and Luke takes the shot, backs himself. The umpire looks up, and I think the signal, it's over the bar.
Tremendous work by Luke Loughlin that time.
Yeah, the puck out. He's coming down in the sun here looking for Niall Mitchell. Niall's ball batted away from, but comes straight into the hands of Luke Loughlin, and I can see from the reaction of the goalkeeper in there, Aaron McHugh, that one has gone over the middle. He get a chance for the next break in play because the puck out is taken, and Darren Finn has launched the ball down the centre, broken down, kicked inside. An opportunity here. Kenny Doyle is onto it, lifts it, shrugs off a tackle, comes forward, takes a shot. What a save! What a save by Andrew.
In the field,
I don't think anyone has gone off yet. We'll see. We'll follow the play now. This Cormac Boyle gets a nice hand pass over there to David Hickey. David is in a lot of space. Coming forward, he's on the Clonkill 45, backs himself, takes the shot, and the umpire steps in, and it is Mark Lennon that eventually makes his way off there, taking this line ball just back inside their own 45, and he goes short. Not the best option in the world there because Kieran Doyle stepped in.
What a score, What a score.
It's of additional time. Eamon Cunny cuts this ball down the line, looking for a teammate. It's Killian Doyle. Great control over the shoulder. Very close to the corner flag. That's an outrageous attempt. What a score.
What a score.
It is there on.
Great work.
Harry step in, and the referee has blown the final whistle. Darren Finn was the man that got the last touch on the ball, but the referee...
I'm joined in co-commentary, Paul Doolan here. I'm joined in co-commentary this afternoon by Eddie Casey. Eddie, you're very welcome here to ARV TV. This is a do-or-die game, Ed. The Cavan
no,
game
it shouldn't be really, but whatever is in it, Castle Pollard have it at the start of the game, so it's in there she goes.
Balling in and the game is on, and it's Castle Pollard going the attack first, and they have a free with the very first action of the game. Joe Rabbit, G. Cusick Park. Lifts and strikes, and that's right over the black spot, Eddie, much as we thought. A point for Castle Pollard, and they go into the lead.
It's going to be a vital...
Announced game in here. Top class referee here in Westmeath. That's nicely cleared over to the far side of the field. Joe Clark in possession now. Turns on to the left. Ships it out over to the far side. Castle now coming on the attack. Neil Kirby with the ball in hand now. Strikes off the right side. Is it going to come in enough? It is. That's a point for Castletown. A lovely score for Neil Kirby, the number 10, I think.
Castletown.
Yeah, and probably his more natural position, if I'm honest.
Yeah, solid under high ball.
Super catch there in the centre of the field that time. Absolutely wonderful catch. Ball into the forward line. Niall O'Brien ships it out again to Kirby. Is he going to get two in a row here? It looks like it's gone over, and that's because it is gone over. A lovely score on Neil Kirby, and he started this game on fire. Listen, most of their games, and they tend to fade or have a little bad patch in every game, and it has been to their detriment. But this one is cleared anyway. Kieran O'Brien gets it down the field, and it is Charlie McCormack that is playing as that sweeper as he did in the last game. Angus Clark now. This time he catches it a little bit better, and that's a super score. Super score from Angus Clark. Over to the aforementioned McCarthy, but again he's swarmed and he's surrounded by a lot of defence there from Castletown. Gagan Shane Clavin was the man getting the ball this time. O'Brien with the ball in hand. Can he get a move on? Yes, he can. Gets it out to Angus Clark. Angus in the centre of the field. field. Looks like it was being fouled. Referee hasn't indicated that yet. Out it comes again to this side of the field though. And that's a nice score. And that's a third score for Neil Kirby, and he's running riot here. So he pops it over the bar here for Castlepollard. Did they really needed it? Even at this early stage, this is a score that they really need. And of course, there was never any doubt about that. Keeps on just in front of us here. We have the action here in front of us in it. That's a great catch, a great grab that time. Super grab that time by Aaron Glennon. Gets it out to Varley. Varley now drives it long and hard. Is there anybody going to be there for it? They don't need to be, because Liam Varley has popped that one up and over the bar. He was even going for a score. He was just trying to knock it into the forward line. But that's a wonderful, wonderful score. Angus now. Oh, there's a lovely ball. Beautiful ball out over onto the far side of the field. Can they get a score out of this one? Looks like it's heading over there. Yeah, that's a lovely, lovely score that time. I think it was David Lynch actually in Birmingham now. Strikes it long and hard down the centre of the field. But again, there's 4 or 5 Castlehound men, or 4 or 5 Pollard men, but none of them get their hands on it, and it's bouncing around there. Higgins gets his hands on the ball eventually, ships it out this side to David Devine. Devine back into his centre of the field, into his midfield partner Joe Rabbit. Joe Rabbit strikes it, and Joe Rabbit has popped it up and over the bar, and that's a score, Eddie. That corner looking for O'Brien. O'Brien is behind his man, and that's great work by Tommy Gallagher. Super work by Tommy Gallagher. But just as I say that, he gives away the ball back across the square. Is this going to be the first goal of the game? It looks like it, is it? Yes, it is. It's a goal. It's a goal from a defensive mistake that time. I think it's Morgan Gavigan actually got the final touch to it, is it, Eddie?
I was just answered scores. This ball's going to drop short, Paul.
Yes, but it's dropping into the danger zone. That could go absolutely anywhere. 3 or 4 lads pulling on it. Eventually, it's pulled on and it's just gone out over the end. I think it actually...
The period. Castlepollard need to win the next couple of balls, need to get the next couple of scores. A few more scores, and you're looking at 112, 114, 4.5.
Back across to Johnny Birmingham. Nice work. Lynch now. He's playing as almost as the sweeper, the libero. Playing for the great catch. Super catch that time. Morgan Gavigan.
Super score.
I think Andy Dermody now gets it out this side. Higgins. Is Higgins going to get his first score of the game? It looks heading towards the goal post.
Great score.
It is, yeah. It's over the bar. Nice score. Badly mistakes here already this afternoon.
Yeah. Castleton well on top for the first 15 before the water break. What's the ref doing here?
It's Johnny Birmingham about 10 years ago. I never heard of it. And you'd often remember fellas with 2 knee pads on them, but there's going to be a yellow card here. If whatever the umpires have seen here, this looks to be...
it's a red.
It's a red card. I didn't time whistle. It's half time here in TG Cusick Park. It's 1-12 to Castletown. It's 6 points to Castlepollard, and Castlepollard are already down to 14 men. A red card for John McCarthy. He's gone off. He's gone man and man at the moment. They've decided to abandon their sweeper system, I think, at the moment, and they don't really have a whole lot of choice with it, Eddie. And that's, of course, what they wanted. A point for Alan.
Quarter final, big game. You know, goal rattles the net. They're well back in this. Here's O'Brien off.
Niall O'Brien with ball in hand, ships it over to the far side to his partner in crime, Angus Clark. And Angus
can't give those 2 guys that time.
No, you can't. The second half, just playing at a kind of a pedestrian pace.
Rattle them.
Niall O'Brien to Kieran O'Brien. Looks like a tug of a jersey there if ever there was one, but eventually the ball comes out to Angus Clark. Angus has men around him on all stages.
Neil Kirby again.
To Neil Kirby, and Neil Kirby.
He was on 4 points for the day.
Yeah, that's a super score.
Yeah. Again, did they need to do that?
Seamless ball down the centre of the field. Higgins on his own, plenty of space, gives a nice ball, a crossfield ball, but again it's Castleton man that gets it, but it's taken out of his hand. David Devine. David heading towards goal. If ever they needed a goal from him, and they needed a score, they need something from it. Andy Dermody out to Andy, and Andy pops it up and over the bar, but as he does it, you can see that effect of the injury he's been carrying. He's been carrying a kind of a hamstring injury there for most of the season.
And this has happened again. Like all day, Pollard get a score, and next thing straight up the pitch, Castletown get a score. No run of scores apart from just
has killed the entire momentum from Castlepollard. They just really haven't recovered at all from it. Micheál Lawler now eventually gets his hand on the ball, and that's good work by Micheál Lawler. Is he going to strike a score? Yes, he is. That's his second of the game, I think, Eddie. Absolutely right.
They need to keep going now and rattle it out for the last 12 minutes. Keep at it for their own sake. Like there's next year they're building
There's
a young
Neil
team.
Kirby takes the ball out from under the nose of it
Great
into
play.
Niall O'Brien. Or Castellan going to go for goal.
Great
They're heading in that direction as well. Niall O'Brien strikes low, strikes hard, but that muscled nearly, I suppose, is the word we're looking for. Nobody within enough space. And there's Tommy Gallagher trying to bring Niall. He's trying to bring Niall O'Brien's hurl home, and it's Jack Gallagher just.
I think it's a learning curve for Pollard today. It's like, as I said to you, challenging. First,
They need to break through that barrier, there, Eddie, or somebody needs to. Whether it's
this Castletown team this season should have probably won the county championship last year.
Definitely, not probably should have won it. They certainly should have won it. That's another point for Morgan Gavigan.
I suppose the
programme.
Here's this man running again.
And again, but at this stage, with 28 minutes gone in the game, is it a little bit too little, too late?
Yeah, but it's positive.
David Devine, good save by Kieran Glenn at that time.
Going through the Castletown team, obviously all the backs nearly played well. They had the extra man for most of the game. Varley was outstanding.
Going through with the ball now. Is he going to get a score? He is. Johnny Lancaster gets a score on the board. That's for man of the match. He was outstanding when needed here in TG Cusack Park. Liam Varley, another man.
First for Pollard. Joe Rabbit has tried hard for Pollard. David Devine has played well.
Charlie McCormack, and Charlie has popped it over the bar, probably trying to drop. Doesn't look like it, because that's it. There's the final whistle. The season for 2021 is over for the men from Clonturk, but for the men from Cashland Viciegan, they go on now and they will contest a semi-final against either Clonkill or Raharney, depending on the game here tomorrow.
You're very welcome to join us here. It's Thomas Mount as usual, and I'm delighted again with Johnny Greville. We're going to go through a few bits and pieces from last weekend from the hurling championships, senior B, in intermediate. An exciting weekend, Johnny, and I suppose the result of the weekend is probably Raharney's defeat of last year's champion, going for 3 in a row, Clonkill.
Yeah, no, it was. I think all the games the weekend were, especially the Castletown, I thought were very impressive. And then Raharney and Clonkill again, you get, they always serve up a good contest, and it was exciting and it was intriguing throughout, and it was ebbing and flowing, and it was, there was loads of different bits and pieces that were going really well. Like Raharney, really young team, Clonkill, a really seasoned team, and it was good to see the contrast of team as well as style as well. Raharney had a more maybe. You would say a kind of a running game, and had plenty of pace and power and skill as well. Now Clonkill had that as well, but are well seasoned with all they've done over the last 10 or 12 years. But I thought maybe, as I just said, the cream always comes to the top sometimes, and the two Dials I thought were very, very quiet. Maybe it was one of their poorer championship performances. For Raharney to win a game in a senior hurling championship game, you'd be hoping the two Dials would be to the fore. And last weekend they weren't to the fore, but then they popped up with two crucial scores at the end. Yeah, when it mattered most. And other players like Owen Key stepped. I thought he was exceptionally played an exceptional game. Owen Ahern, him and Calvin Riley had a great battle there. They had a battle, side. Yeah, they had a battle. It was nearly more like an octagon rather than a Conor McGregor type stuff going on there. But it was intriguing. All those battles and matchups all over the field were really intriguing. And
one that was intriguing for me was Niall Mitchell and young Jamie Mulcairns. and in fairness, young Cairns did himself no harm with it either. He more than held his own against one of the most potent forces, I suppose, in Westmeath hurling.
Yeah, that's it. And Niall, the aerial threat he has is just there for everybody to see. And as I said before, earlier in the season when Castletown, when he came off the bench, scored 3 goals. I thought Castletown were a little bit slow and getting the match up right there. But like Raharney went with the no fear youth with young McCurtis, against, he probably didn't really care who Niall Mitchell was, and it showed that as well. He batted every ball, was fearless in the tackle, and I took Niall nearly in that part of the the second and third quarter when Clonkill got on top, when Niall moved further out the field, he kind of got a little bit more on the ball, and then his influence was a little bit seen a little bit more. But young McKearns, for his first year playing senior hurling,
and I actually was impressed with the full back in general. I've spoken about Sean Quinn on many occasions on this programme. I think he's a super defender.
Yeah.
For he's not the big tallest man, the more than myself, he's not the tallest man in the world, but Jesus, what he loses in height, he gives you an absolute heart, and he covered an acre of ground, and so did Darren Finn. A big mention to him, because he's been up against it with a lot of good forwards over the last while, but he really stood up last weekend. Like Geordie, I don't think Geordie Smith. Well, it was young Sean Quinn was on Geordie Smith.
Yeah,
he rarely got a sniff of the ball, if we're being honest. Like
only for the goal,
but for the goal, yeah, and the goal kind of was. It had been coming, shall we say? Like you could see that there was something on the way there, and he was just the right man in the right place, I suppose, as well, and a great finish from him. But that apart, the Clonkill attack was a little bit toothless. Maybe, is that fair to say?
I would say that. I would say Clonkill were very, very slow to adapt to the way Raherney were playing. Again, I would say Raherney took the template from Castle Pollard, and kind of went with that extra defender, if you want to call it, again, with Robbie kind of dropping off and they didn't have possession and getting back in front.
And Cormac Boyle actually played
a lot of the time,
came back,
especially the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, from the stand looking in, you could see it a mile away that what Raherney were going to do. They set up with the two guys inside with Owen Ahern and Keys inside, and I felt Clonkill were very, very slow to change that.
Particularly with Keys, I mean, he 2 goals got him.
Yeah, could have had a third in the first quarter. Yeah, and Raherney went for the shock and awe.
And they were great finishes now.
Yeah,
let's be honest about that as well. They were super finishes for a young lad.
I suppose you go back, maybe say Dublin footballers, for example, their template is to shock and awe the opposition. So I thought Raherney shock and awed Clonkill in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and it took Clonkill way too long in my eyes to readjust.
It probably taught the introduction. It probably was the introduction of Paddy Dowdle that kind of turned the tide. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely.
For experience, maybe they were allowed. It allowed them kind of move Dara Egerton back onto Keys, which kind of nullified him for a period of the game as well. But like Dowdle is he's just a phenomenon.
He's super and a super guy as well. Like he's again, like Alan Devine from Pollard and all these guys. He owes Clonkill nothing. Like he did the time and St. Lomas and stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm sure he's trying to build on an extra fist to the house to try and fit all these the silverware and medals that he's got.
I hope
a very talented family.
I hope it's a palace he has with him.
That's the truth. And his daughter Megan was with Westmeath Camogie, and she's one of the best camogie players in the country.
The apple never falls far from the tree, I suppose.
And when he did come in, he made a big difference. But again, just going back to the way the setup, and maybe the Clonkill, Pat O'Toole and his backroom team will have to look at that closely, and how slow they were to react. Whether it was he's going to be okay type thing with Alan McGrath and Owen Keys, or whether they didn't have their matchups right. It looked like they had Dara Egerton earmarked for Killian Doyle, and Killian and Kieran both retracted right back into the middle third of the field, and
which took Dara Egerton out of the game almost,
and pushed the whole half back line back and left the two guys inside. And Raherney's, you could see it clearly, and anybody who's there could see it was, let's get that ball in as quick and as fast as we possibly can. And the first 2 or 3 balls that get in stuck. And they got, like, Owen Keys we had 2, we could have had 3. And they were very, very slow. And but then I suppose from Raherney's side of it, when Clonkill did adapt and got the changes made, Raherney were very slow to change their game. They kept persisting with the same ball, and
the long puck.
And they kept, Clonkill at stages had maybe 2, maybe 3 spare guys back in that zone there. Raherney retracted right back inside their own 65. Now, again, I would go back in Clonkill, I'd be saying another mistake that they made is that they persisted to bomb ball back in on top of that crowded and congested area from the Raherney 65 to the end line, and Raherney just swept it up and kept coming back out with it. But then Raherney's part of it was that they just kept lumping it back down. So it was a game of tennis there.
It was for a period of it,
And again,
it didn't make the game any less enjoyable.
Absolutely not.
It was an absolutely tremendous game, and the comment, the biggest comment I suppose I heard here on Sunday was like, wouldn't this be a great county final if you had the 2 of them back again? Now I'm sure Castletown will have an awful lot to say with that as well. But having said that, probably the 3 teams at the start of the championship that we thought would be contesting the semi-finals and final are the 3 teams that are contesting the final, semi-final and final. The only thing I would be a little bit wary of for a young Raharney team maybe is they have now to wait for a county final, so they have 4 weeks in which to try and get ready for a county final, whereas Castletown and Clonkill now have that caveat of playing an extra game. And I'm not so sure. I think that might be actually beneficial to both of those sides as opposed to Raharney going straight to a final. Now I know they wanted to win it as all Raharney teams ever do. They want to win. They want to win everything. And having said that, as well, they were the only team to go unbeaten in this year's championship. Look down and out here against Castletown here on the opening game. But yet they're still the only team undefeated in the senior hurling championship this year. So if that's the case, you deserve to be where you are and you deserve to be in the final. But I do think that the fact that Castletown and Clonkill are going to have a cut at each other maybe in a semi-final to sharpen themselves up maybe for a final, where Raharney are going to wait now for 4 weeks. We did discuss this here the last time as well, whether it was a plus or maybe a plus or negative.
I don't know. Raharney have a young team, and the Jewel side, as far as I know, Clucan are out of it, and they're not in the relegation. So, the Jewel side of things, Darren Giles again, wasn't fit to play last weekend. As a come back in, but he'd be heavily involved now with Kinnegad in the semi-final. Looking forward to that as well. So to get the balance right, to get the best team onto the field. And then to keep that momentum, for me, Raharney could do another game in 2 weeks' time. Because that momentum is starting to build.
Yes,
if you said to them at the start of the year, they would have taken a 12-week wait for a county final. So it's not going to really matter an awful lot.
They would have waited 18 months for it.
And they have the joy of the next 4 weeks of getting all these niggles and knocks together. Twigging their plan. They know. They have 2 teams to prepare for. They can prepare for both.
Yes.
They have that time on their side to be able to do that. County finals. Any county final I was ever involved in, county finals are about winning.
Yes.
They will say, it doesn't performances matter very, very.
No, it doesn't make any difference.
Because
nobody remembers. Nobody remembers just so long who brings the Westmeath Examiner Cup home. That's all that matters.
The list is saying 2021. County champions were, doesn't matter what you scored, how you played,
doesn't make any difference.
Winning the game.
I totally agree with you.
Both teams, but I'm going to flip it a little bit. I'm going to say the most impressive team of the weekend for me were Castletown. We have to remember that this is 250 they've scored in 2 matches leading into that game at the weekend. 125 again, 125 in the previous match. 250 is super scoring
against probably the teams that are trying to break into that triumvirate, I suppose, of Castletown, Clonkill and Raharney. Like Castletown's last 2 games have really been almost knockout games, because if they lost to the Gales, really they could have been in a position where they were going out of the championship. If they lost to Pollard, they were definitely out of the championship.
That's the thing. So the character that they're shown in the last couple of matches, they've basically played a quarter final and or 2 quarter finals,
a preliminary quarter final and a quarter final, and
now they're going into a semi final. So if you want to look at it on that side, Clonkill have kind of gone in with it now. They've lost 2 matches, but they're still in the championship.
Absolutely.
Castletown went in.
We're not that long ago that they lost 3 matches and still won the championship.
So you can't rule Clonkill out, but going on what I seen at the weekend, I think I Castletown down for 38 shots at goal at the weekend, scoring 125, 118 from play. Pollard were poor
and threats from everywhere, Johnny. That's what was most impressive for me.
And I have it here, and I know most weeks we talk about and marquee players and the key players like in Raharney to Doyles and all. But what I'd like to do tonight is talk about the lads who were on the outside of that. So for example, say in Raharney, David Hickey and Owen Keys were 2 guys.
Jamie Mulcairn.
Jamie Mulcairn, Jordy Smith, Luke Loughlin,
Sean Quinn.
Sean Quinn. These guys are on the outside of the big hitters that everybody knows. And then Castletown, Morris Gavigan and Neil Kirby. I think between the 2 of them they scored 1-9. So they took that.
Like Neil Kirby's first 3 scores was as good as any scores I've seen here. He was absolutely on fire. And it again, Johnny, going back to the Raharney game you were talking about, they went at them from the start. It was the same with Castletown and Pollard. Castletown blitzkrieg Pollard in the first 15-20 minutes, and really and truly the game was over after the Castletown goal. In my opinion, I thought you could see the heads going down with Castle Pollard, and they don't lie down, and no team wants to lie down. But from that point on, and then into the bargain, just when you're after getting a couple of points back, and then they get a man sent off, needlessly sent off. Like, you know, it kind of tore the heart out of my thought.
Yeah.
And they put up a huge show in the second half, but I think the game was over once the Castletown goal went in, and they never showed any mercy to Castlepollard. They went totally at them, you know.
Yeah, no, and they were, and like just on the send it off and just on Castlepollard and their performance against Clonkill in the first game, you know, and we said it here the last day, like the biggest question mark I had is could they follow that performance with a performance, and no
consistency,
you know, so that's something they have to look at. The discipline, like, you know, I suppose we won't go down too hard and for John McCarthy, you know, these things happen, but generally a Castlepollard team that has a man sent off, it's like to have it would be the other way, because I've seen it over it's like to have 17 lads, you know, so they go from 14 to 17 because it galvanises them. But that what I think Castletown were so impressed with the weekend was, and in the last few matches, was the character that they seem to be building, that little bit of steel that I felt, and I know loads of other people are questioning that steel, have they got it? You know, it's the backbone there to get across the line when it matters most. As we said, like a Premier League quarter final against the Gales, you know, quarter final against Pollard, now in a semi final against Clonkill. You know, the ultimate question is.
But therein lies the thing, Johnny. It's a semi final. It's Clonkill again. They have been the bugbear. Like let's call a spade a spade. They have been Castletown bugbear. At some stage, Castletown, if they want to win a county title, I know that they have to win 2 games to win it now, but if they want to win a county title, they're going to have to get that monkey off their back. You know, and I think they know that themselves. Like, a lot of these guys have been around quite a while. You know, the likes of Niall O'Brien and Angus and these guys, they've been plugging for a long time to try and break through and break that monopoly that Clonkill and Raharney have. And I think they have to get the monkey off the back at some stage. They're rarely going to get a better chance than they are this year, because I don't think Clonkill are the force they have been over the last couple of years. I think they're a couple of players short of what they have shown previously, and I think Raharney are coming with a completely different game. It's a kind of left field game plan, a kind of left field system, a younger legs, mad to get at it, mad to run, and of course that indomitable Raharney spirit, like, they want to win every game. They hate losing. You know,
absolutely.
And they will never give up, you know, till the bitter end. And in fairness, I have to say as well, particularly on the Castlepollard one, they never threw down the heads, but you knew. You knew from the body language even.
The game was up, you know.
The game was up, you know, and I think Castletown maybe even coasted towards the end a small bit, which is not the right thing to do.
No,
you know, you won't get that. If that was Clonkill, would Clonkill have coasted towards the end? I'm not so sure. I think they would have gone pell-mell at Pollard for the last few minutes. I think Raharney definitely would. They would have punished them as much as they possibly could. I thought Castletown maybe, you know, they had it won. We don't want to get too many injuries. Now, of course, they have a lot of footballers included in the squad as well, and they took off an awful lot of players towards the end of the game, which, in fairness to them, that was the absolute right thing to do, because, you know, bigger games, bigger fish ahead. I thought both games were excellent to watch, if I'm honest. I thought they were excellent, particularly the Raharney Clonkill game, and even the Castlepollard and Castletown game. For skill levels, I thought, now Joe Fortune was sitting in front of us, the new Westmeath manager was sitting in front of us. He was extremely impressed with the skill levels from all 4 teams. You know,
like technically, you know, in Westmeath, that's there. You know, that's and has been there. It's probably a development thing overall over a long period of time that's going to get better. But just to go back to Castletown just before we move on from them, yes, they like the coastal, and you know, the player being sent off is sent off, and they had to do what they had to do. But again, going back, I think Castletown have evolved, you know, even since the Clonkill game, when they got out of jail with the, you know, when Clonkill got to 3 scores, and I think they're learning as they go along, and I think they played a really clever game. I think Castlepollard went with the same plan and felt it was going to work, but they were very rigid in everything they did. They weren't fluid. They were very static. Clonkill Castlepollard were like, you know, there were statues on the field. There was no fluidity in what they were doing. Whereas Castletown, you know, young Charlie McCormick, again, a young guy, you know, played in the same position, the same area as he did the last day. But Castletown played around him. you know. And,
Yeah, they had
the ball.
obviously watched. They had obviously watched the previous
you
game.
see it here, ball out to the side, and they were going down this channel here, and popping passes again with the running game off the shoulder.
This is Neil Kirby. He was absolutely outstanding.
If we stop it there, you'll actually see Charlie in front of Niall O'Brien and Tommy Gallagher there, just not knowing where to stick or to twist effectively, not pushing up at that stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
10 yards further forward in that game could have cut out maybe 3 or 4 more scores.
Yeah, and also the Castletown defending, I thought, was exceptional.
But their distribution, you see it here again, there's 2-on-1 here, pass out to Angus. Angus is, again, wide himself, again, little stick pass inside. Another spare player, so they could have recycled that ball again and still had the
players
shot
left and right
the
as
players
well.
left and right, so they always have players in support. And this is what I'm saying about this Castletown team, that they're evolving. And tactically against Castle Pollard, I felt that they put Castle Pollard to the sword.
They definitely won the tactical battle.
They won the tactical battle. They played around they could have 2 spare players there. Castletown played that ball around them, played in front of him or either side of him, and again were able to shoot from distance like the last clip here again, and see the Angus dropping deep again, ball round the corner to Joe Clark. Again another score from that side of the field. So I
think that was David Lynch actually got that one. He was exceptional as well. Kind of played in that loose role from,
again,
almost a 7th defender.
The athleticism, like if you stood back behind the goals and watched that and watched each attack from Castletown, there was like a wave of Castletown in each line.
And as we've seen in the clips there was an awful. The cornerbacks came forward quite often.
Yeah.
On numerous occasions.
Yeah.
Liam Barley came forward there, which I thought he'd get a nosebleed once he got over the halfway line because he was exceptional, I have to say.
But again,
tremendous
just go
game.
back to say Kieran O'Brien. Kieran O'Brien was in there, probably wasn't as big as an influence as he was last week. Played a little bit deeper than he did the previous game. But what I feel that Castletown have got right since that Clonkill game is that middle third. They started to dominate those areas. But again, they're being very clever. They looked at Castle Pollard. They didn't go out with or should we go out lads will hurl and perform and win. They had their homework done. They set up in a certain way. They played the ball into the right areas and got the rewards.
And the stats, Tom, from the games at the weekend, I presume we have the...
Yeah, so we'll start off with the Raharney game first. So the Raharney game was a couple of interesting things in that. The first interesting thing in that was, I suppose, that Raharney won 9 out of 22 with the Clonkill puck-out. So there's an interesting thing in that. We just showed a video here. Just getting here now. Sorry. So in the video clip, you'll see the Raharney half back line, as Johnny's mentioned, or half forward line, as Johnny's mentioned already, sat deep for the puck-outs, and it was different for a change because I suppose the Clonkill half-backs actually followed them. So you'll see from these scores here, long balls played out, and we'll stop it there and look at the acre space there.
Yeah.
And usually, the 6 backs always kind of stay in a similar position, but the Clonkill backs followed, and they actually gave Raharney a bit of space to get into. Now, they don't take full advantage of this one here, but you'll see in the next couple again, David Hickey gets a great point off in a minute or two, we'll see.
Yeah.
So I think it's off this one here, no, next one. But again, similar again, long ball, Cormac wins the break on it, and
immediately they're back on the attack again.
Yeah, and when this ball's played down the line, again, there's space for them to play it into.
Yeah.
And it was something that Raharney got a good bit of joy out. We'll see the last one here in a second. This one here is a fabulous score. And how
this is David Hickey's score actually, is it?
Yeah, and it sums up the way Raharney are playing now as well. Head up, using the ball. Like they've always been good at using the ball, but if you see here, Cormac gets through the tackle, space in front, David Hickey stays wide, and look at the space.
Look at the space
again.
He has to drive the ball over the bar, yeah.
So I'm sure that's something Pat and Frank will have a look at going forward, but that was just something we noticed off puck outs.
And that's the big part of that there was, if you watched Clonkill's half forward, Patter Scally especially, Patter got sucked into the huddle or sucked into the ruck every single time, which left, and I would say your hurling intelligence takes hold there.
Yeah.
That young Hickey kept out.
Yeah.
He was outside of all of those balls most of the time and allowed either Robbie or Cormac or Mark Lennon and even young Conor McKeown when he come on to win that dirty ball or the big heavy hitting ball,
and then he was the outlet.
He was the outlet, and then the ball out to him, as he got 2 scores from just holding that channel, kind of like Joe Clark did in a couple of the previous matches. Just kind of held the channel, waited for that out ball. When the out ball came, he either delivered it or took on a shot or took on a score. So
that was, and like the next big thing was, I suppose, Raharney had 50% chance conversion that game, got over the line.
Yeah.
We talked about that already. Johnny's kind of mentioned that already.
Yeah.
Clonkill had a 71% chance conversion rate. So just the value of getting them shots off, and I suppose the game of tennis kind of took over there at one stage where both teams were hitting it to the spare player. So Clonkill ended up hitting a lot to Robbie, and if you see there in the second half, Raharney kind of focused down that right channel a lot more.
Yeah.
And probably evidently was when Paddy Dowdle came on to keep the ball away from Paddy, like, because I suppose the finger's been burnt that many times by Paddy Dowdle. Everyone knows if you get near him.
Yeah.
And they pulled over to that channel. We'll see there, that's the score Johnny mentioned earlier, the ridiculous one here on the sideline inside the 14 line from Killian. Probably the game changing score at the end.
That was the one that kind of killed the Spurs of Clonkill, I think.
Yeah.
So that was the couple of big things in that, stats wise, from that game. Again, as we said earlier, the 14 shots wide from play is probably something that Raharney management team Keogh or Brendan will look at going forward.
Yeah, they had 32 attempts in goal that's 40 or 16 wides, between wides and ball that dropped short.
Yeah.
So they do have to tidy up in that, but as I do always say, you have to keep shooting. So I'd rather have 16 wides than have 3 wides.
It means you're in the opposition end of the field. You're in the opposition end. It's very true.
Keep shooting. It's a real. Keep shooting, and eventually, one day those balls will all go over the bar. And it happened for us back in 2016. It was something that we did, or we were doing the stats on it, and our wides were 20, 22, 20, but we were getting up in 50 shots per match.
Yeah.
We got to a county final, and Clonkill were winning by I think 7 or 8 points at half time. But every ball we hit in the second half went over the bar into the back of the net.
Yeah.
And that's where the joy of that is. If you're getting those shots, and like Castletown, that's what I'm saying. Castletown was 125, 38 attempts the last day. They had 11 or 12 wides. Like, that's a phenomenal scoring rate.
Yeah.
And they, for me, they're just a little bit more clinical than the other teams. They're getting those scores off. They're hitting that 25-point mark most days. Like you see Raharney and Clonkill at the weekend, 114, 214. To win a county final now or win a county semi-final, you're going to have to be hitting the 19 to 24 point mark.
Yeah.
And that's along with a goal or two in there.
Yeah.
That's something that I think Castletown have kind of got, but obviously teams, if they're doing the homework, will try and shut down those scoring opportunities. But as we said, the spread of scores that Castletown had, say compared to Raharney had
it's something I was
6,
just going to mention. Like
they
they
had 9.
and even their substitutes that came on picked off lovely. I think Cormac Jackson picked off a really, really good score.
Yeah.
Now I suppose at that stage, maybe the game was over, but at the same time, they're playing for their places really as such. Jack Gallagher, I think, picked up a lovely score as well.
Yeah, well, and then you look at their intermediate team at the weekend. Was beaten by Ringtown on Sunday. Raharney's intermediate team was beaten by Plunkett's on Saturday. And if you look at both, now I kind of looked at both, say, the Raharney and the Castletown teams to see what could be added to the senior setup going forward. And just a couple of names that popped up, say for the Castletown side of things, like Mick Heaney played that game.
He did,
big player.
Only coming back, kind of.
He's only coming back. He played a game of hurling. He's still going to be a good player to bring in.
Yeah, wouldn't be a bad lad to be bringing in now.
They have the cover there with Sean Maher as well. I know he's playing outfield with the intermediates, but an excellent goalkeeper, somebody there that could come in. So that's covered with Padraig Kane, Brendan Heaney, and young Slevin.
The young Slevin was very impressive. Probably the most impressive player on the day, if we're being honest.
And Pat O'Brien always struck me as a sort of manager. Like myself, he's not afraid to throw the young lad in and give him a shot.
Young Warwick Kirby actually had a really decent game.
They're brilliant. They're players to have it. And then I suppose the Raharney side, it's probably a little bit different. You've more so the mainstay of what's to come in. Maybe Mark Conray played in the county final back in 2014. Conor Jordan and John Shaw.
Yeah.
But then they're younger lads. There's young Brian McGrath. It's a little bit too soon.
Yeah, he did a decent game as well, though.
Yeah, but that's where Brendan McKeown is going to have to be. He's going to have to dip into that.
Yeah.
If they're going to win a county final.
Yeah.
Pat O'Brien's going to have to dip into that if they're going to win a semi-final against Clonkill.
Yeah, and maybe more so even to get for 2 games.
Exactly, and then Clonkill are in a little bit of a different boat because they had 2 teams or 3 teams over the the senior and the other 2 groups.
And they were kind of stretched. They're
stretching themselves. Maybe something to have to look at going forward. But what they pick out with that, I feel that Pat and Frank and the guys have probably assembled their senior squad by what we've seen so far. Now still Great Sione Price running up and down the sideline. He's
Yeah.
there.
I thought they might bring him on. I actually thought they might
well,
bring him
you know,
on. Adam Price on the sideline as
Adam
well.
Price,
Like,
these
and
guys
didn't
are
go
always
to that.
season, so they seem to come. It's
Alan
towards
Dowd
the
only
end.
come on, I think, is a late sub.
Yeah,
I don't
they're
know
all-
Christopher
they're all big
Austin showed
players,
it all
yeah.
after playing virtually every game so far this
Yeah,
year.
you know,
I
Hickey-
thought Clonkill were a little bit slow and maybe
Yeah, I thought
dipping
they were-
into the bench.
I thought we were very slow on the sideline. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought, one of those goals, the first one that's got was great. There were two very similar goals.
Very similar, yeah.
And I just, get a hit for two goals like that so quickly. I know they have to watch Killy. There were hardly multiple threats.
Yes.
And when you go forward and you play top teams, you have to be able to manage those multiple threats.
Yeah.
There's, a long ball down
Into Keys.
into Keys here. Like, look at the space. There's the
There was the
octagon.
WWE for the two
that was
boys.
going on.
Yeah.
But look at this. Look where he ran from. This is without a real hit there. He probably should have been put
He
into.
probably
the,
should have been put on up,
put
into
into the
Dunn
canal
Stores
there,
almost. Yeah.
That's what Clonkill have to look at there. Take the hit on that one. Take your 21-yard free.
This one was a
Here.
super. Just a save, actually.
Yeah. So
That's
No, that's the goal. He actually he had a very similar chance a couple of minutes later that Andrew Mitchell got a foot to.
Yeah, but again, if you see the corner back number 4, I know he's watching Owen Keys coming back, but where was his half back line?
Yeah.
When you go to that position there, again, it was similar when Shane Cavan got called for Niall Mitchell's goal earlier in the season.
Yeah.
There was no, Andrew Mitchell should have been pulling somebody back into cover in around the back end there. But when Owen Keys was turning, you could see him turning, he was going straight for the black spot. So Kelvin Riley should have been coming over again with a hard hit.
Yeah.
If you at this day and age, you take the thing when they get inside the 21, it's time to be ruthless. Take the card, take the hit.
Well,
Don't
look,
concede a goal.
we can say what we like, but you don't want to be conceding scores,
No,
and if
you don't
it
want
takes
that was too easy. Those
if
two goals were way too easy.
it takes getting a yellow card for it, there's no manager is going to say that until we can criticise and say about it, but if you're a manager, you're telling them don't give them the opportunity.
Like that's game. If that was a team I was over now, I'd be. I wouldn't be too happy now that the players coming in behind.
I wouldn't imagine so.
You'd have to. I'd be looking for contact. Even if there was contact and he was good enough to get the goal, then you give him a clap in the back. But there's no contact. There was no real contact on that player.
Yeah.
Like,
Now,
should
young
have been
Keys
players
is big and
coming
strong. Having said that, though,
he's
he
a big,
brushed
big, strong player, but
he brushed aside a couple of hefty challenges there as well. In fairness to the guys.
What I'm saying is, the first challenge was fine, but you get that, you get turned. But it was the second challenge didn't come.
Yeah.
I know.
No follow-up.
There was no follow up. Where was the half back line? The half back line should have been covering Calvin Riley there to allow him cut across and get that hit in to be able to cut it out, or even Andrew Mitchell should have come out a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
But Pat and Frank are going to have to look at it. That there were two soft goals, and there were two good goals. But as regards the defending side of things, you're looking at it from a defender's point of view, you'd be very disappointed you didn't get some sort of a hit in on that player inside the 21.
Yeah. The stats on that on the Castletown Pollard game, Tom.
Yeah.
Much similar, I suppose. Only that 118 from play from Castletown. That's the outstanding.
That's the outstanding stat. That again, similar enough trend throughout the championship. Pollard's puck outs haven't been able to get a solid foundation from them. Again, the weekend only won 30 or 20 out of 35. Again, they mixed it up, tried to go long, or tried to mix it up early on, going short early on. Then when they lost the player, they kind of forced their hand to go along behind the game. The other thing with that in that game was the other similar trend we've seen was the reliance on frees for Castle Pollard.
Yeah, it was, and it's something that they have been very reliant on all year, I suppose. If we're being truthful about the whole thing.
And if we just look at this little graph we did up, so compared to the other 5 teams, we didn't have any Crookwood games. So we just looked at the Loughlin Gales, Raharney, Castleton, and Clonkill games, and we just look at where Castle Pollard are compared to them. 43% of the Castle Pollard shots come from frees.
Yeah.
So there's a major reliance on that. And compared to the other teams, they're only creating 26 shots a game. Yeah. So if you look at that compared to where Castletown are, Castletown and Harney are both creating 32 shots an average a game.
Yeah.
And they're 25 or 29 and 35% of frees. There's a major reliance on Castle Pollard to get frees to get that shot count up.
Yeah.
And when we look back at the shot charts, their shooting range seems to be just inside that 65. It's very rare you see them. Higgins had one at the weekend, have that shot from distance to drag out defences.
Yeah.
And that's just one thing we had a look at there.
Having said that, an honourable mention to David Higgins. I thought he had a tremendous game for Castle Pollard the other night, under the severest of pressure, and Tommy Gall. In fairness, they led the line there as best they could against an absolute onslaught. That's been that's been truthful about the whole thing. Like Castletown went at them from the word go, and they never stopped for the full 60 minutes. Like and Higgins and Gallagher in particular, I thought stood up, you know, immensely. In fairness to them,
they were the two standout performers for Pollard, and you know, there's young maybe young David Devine. I said similar to Shane Williams with Lachlan Gales. Like there's an awful lot put in the shoulder. He did well against Clonkill.
Joe Rabbit, similar.
You know, Joe Rabbit as well. Now, Joe is probably suited to midfield, but David Devine is a really good hurler, a good stick player, and a good forward. You know, and they probably lacked that scoring threat. And he was too far away from the goal. You know, something maybe you could look at going forward is try to get him into positions that he's going to get scores off, because you know the further back down the field he is, you know, like with all respects to the rest of the Pollard forwards, there was very little threat there. Yeah. You know, apart from Alan Devine. You know, as I said,
Andy Dermody, who had been outstanding here against Clonkill, you could see he was absolutely labouring, struggling with an injury. Like possibly shouldn't have even played at all if we're being completely honest, and it was a. But look, that's the semi-final. It's Castletown versus Clonkill, and it's Raharney directly to a final. The other game at the weekend, of course, was Loughlin Gales and Crooked Wood, which was again another very hefty defeat. We don't like to labour on at this point, Johnny, but look, it's shown the divide that there is between senior hurling and the next grade, and it's not something we want to see. We don't want to see it for Crooked Wood at any stage. We don't want to see it for any team to be absolutely hockeyed out the gate, and the Gales kind of went to town on them as well, I suppose, at the weekend, which that's what they wanted to do. They want to finish their season on a bit of a high note as well. But again, it brings into question this whole jump up, and look at. They're entitled to be there. They won the Senior B last year, so they're entitled to be there. But there is that gap developing, and it seems that chasm seems to be getting that little bit bigger.
Yeah, it is, and you know the key to coming up through the grades is that you're improving each year. You know that you're able to come up and compete at the next level, and just you know, Crookwood are just weren't able to compete. You know, the other teams are way ahead. You know, they have to go back and look at that, and you know, they have to find a championship, I suppose, that they can develop in.
Yeah.
You know, and that's important. Like, and you know, at the weekend it was great to see. You know, again my own club and against Castletown, it was great to see Plunkett and Ringtown. You know, to contest sole intermediate, sole clubs and contest their own championship. I think that's really important. And
that's no disrespect to the senior clubs at all. They're entitled to play hurling. We've discussed this on the football programme as well. They're absolutely entitled to play hurling, but. It is from our as a completely outsider or as a neutral to look at it is I think a junior or an intermediate or whatever it is, it should be for the intermediate or junior clubs or whatever it is at all. That's just my opinion.
I agree it's 1000%.
Like we're not developing anything.
No, we're
not developing anything.
Big clubs, like I want to kind of say this is that you know these second teams. Like when I was coming through the ranks and coming up and playing, I used to play with Declan Weir when he was finishing his career in a junior championship, you know, that's 16, 17 years of age or whatever, and I think that's where the bigger clubs need to. I can see what they're trying to do with the nucleus of these. You see Eamon O'Clark playing with the Castletown second team, John Shaw, Conor Jordan, these guys, and that's great. That helps those young lads around them. But we have to find a competition that allows that to develop, and I think it's more so a junior competition with. We set our stall out then with our intermediate, with your senior B and your senior A, and then having sole clubs in each of those competitions, and then having the second teams of the big clubs down in the junior B and contesting in that, and let them
play at their level.
Just play down there. Let those younger. There's a lot of young lads in both those teams, and if you pick it out, if there was a proper under 20 or under 19 championship ran in Westmeath, you know, a lot of those teams, first teams, won't be able to field second teams because those young guys are all from that age group. Last year mine are you know, between 19 and 21. So that's, you have to look at the bigger picture. There's a lot of those guys who are being pulled, they're all dual players, they're being pulled left, right and centre. You know, to get them playing hurling, playing football, not being burnt out, not being pulled between here, there and everywhere. You just need to find a competition that works for that. And I think, you know, the setting the stall out with, you know, the junior, intermediate, senior B, you know, even the 4 competitions.
And it's interesting to note as well, Johnny, I suppose, the 3 clubs that are in the senior final have a lot of dual players that are, most of them still involved. Now, Raharney or Killucan, of course, had gone out of the championship, but we're right in it up until the last game. So you know, it can be done. It's not an impossibility.
Yeah.
You know, at this stage, like a lot of the Downs players playing with Clonkill, and we have quite an amount of Raharney lads. They played with Killucan, and you have then the Castletown boys. They're going for a double, like I mean, with Malachy's, which would be probably the fancy team. Would that be fair to say, or definitely one of the fancy teams on it? We're going to go on to the Senior B hurling now, and this finished up at the weekend. Delvin actually topped the group, which, as much as we thought at the start of the season, Father Dalton's finished second, and Cullen, I think by virtue of their last point of the game, wasn't it, to get them into the semi-final, which put them ahead of St. Bridget's. If I've been honest, I seen Delvin in their first game, and Father Dalton's bet them out the gate here. I mean, bet them out the gate. And it's an amazing turnaround. But they were always the team. If we're going back to last year, a little bit unlucky in last year's championship.
Yeah, they were.
You know, they were close in a couple of games, and we were more than this. We were more than, and I really fancied them. And yet they've turned it around from that defeat to Father Dalton's. And as I say, atop the group, they go straight to a final now. It's Father Dalton's and Cullen, which could go anywhere as well. Like Cullen are a bit hit and miss. I think they've had huge highs this year. They've also had a couple of lows. Brownstown, I think, are the major disappointment in that one. You know, I seen them against Father Dalton's, and they played outstanding hurling. And they just didn't step up since that. Before it or after, it was a kind of a one-game wonder. Bridges, of course, will be kicking themselves. They got so close on so many occasions.
If they'd actually won, they would have knocked Delvin out. The way on point difference by the end of it.
Would have knocked Delvin out completely.
Yeah, Delvin would have been out completely. So 2 point loss completely.
Well, that's a real sign. So that Delvin are in a good position, because generally when you're nearly out and you get back in, it gives you re-energise you. But just on those games the weekend, there's just a couple of guys again picking from, say, the future, both their own club stars and Westmeath stars. So Jack Gillen and Owen McCabe for both. Like Jack Gillen scored 12 points, 7 from frees. Owen McCabe scored 111, 9 from frees. You know, geez, that is some score for two young lads. You know,
19 years of age, both of them. Like, and I think they're both under 20 again next year, if I'm not mistaken.
So like that was a serious.
And I seen them down. I seen them this year. They played for the Westmeath under 20s in Portlaoise. That absolute thriller of a game that we went to. We worked in home till nearly 11 o'clock down there, and they were outstanding. Both of them were outstanding on that occasion. Josh Call, of course, with Delvin. They're very reliant, I suppose, on the form of Derek Clinton. Would that be fair to say?
But again, it's I said, like the Doyles, the cream comes to the top. You know, and you know, the thing is coming to it, and Darrell's mature, and he's still loads of hurling in him. Like I think he got 1-4 at the weekend, and you know, he'll get better and better, and you know, teams to take your eye off, like Josh Call, if you take your eye off Dara, Josh Call will pop up. Like, you know, they've loads of good, young Ennis there as well. They've loads of really good players there, and again, they'll bring it back to it's a perfect opportunity for them to develop. That if Delvin, for example, won that championship, I think they'll be a little bit better again going into the senior next year after what they did the year before.
Probably,
you know,
yes.
And I think that'll be it. And either or, like Father Dalton's similar to that.
They're building it underage, I suppose, Johnny. You're right.
They won it under 17 there at the weekend as well, and it's brilliant to see that. So that's, you know, this is it's not. And I think I've seen Southern Gales winning. I think they won
under 15. I think
under 15 or something at the weekend as well. So again, this is really, really important for the development. And just go and say back to Owen McCabe, for example, like, you know, he's carrying this team. He's only after coming in last year or the year before, and he's scored 111 in a crunch match. Jack Gillen is one of the guys that I would have, when I was involved with Westmeath, involved with Westmeath minors, involved with Westmeath under 20s. He was always there. Every time he turned around, he was at a training session. He was there with a hurl behind him, or he was at a match. He was watching what's going on. You know, loves the game. You know, and you know, for him to get that score, I see he played goals for them. I think it was last year he played goals for them. And came out the field. This year now he's out the field, hitting 7 frees. You know, and 5 ball from play, and getting the last score then to get you into a semi-final of a championship. So I think there's going to be nothing between Cullen and Dalton's. I don't think either would have learned an awful lot about each other at the weekend. I think Dalton's, as regards athleticism and physicality, you know, if the conditions are are tested in any way at all, they could step up because they'd be that bit stronger than Cullion in the physicality side of things. But if we got weather like we have at the moment, and it was an even keel, I think that could be a really good game.
It also depends on who's tagging out for Cullion as well. I know Jack Galvin. There's a problem with Jack Galvin, I think, isn't it? He's struggling, I think, at the moment, which would be one of their really strong players.
But a few years ago he was thrown injury. A few years ago, I played Raherney here in the final. He was struggling going into that game as well, and it was a dirty miserable day.
It was actually, I remember it.
But he had a huge game.
He did,
and the likes.
So that's still all to play for. I think. I suppose Delvin are in the driving seat. If at the start of the year, if somebody said there's 50 quid and go and have it on someone in the Senior B Championship, they would have been my choice.
Yeah,
I'm not as totally convinced now. If I'm being
but again,
completely truthful, and I think any one of the three of them.
Yeah,
and I still think there may be a kick in Cullion. I really do. I think come a semi-final against Daltons, that's no disrespect to Daltons or to Delvin. I just have a sneaky suspicion that Cullion might up at a level. I think they're going to have to beat Daltons, and they're certainly going to have to beat Delvin.
Daltons have that hurt in the bank though from last year from that final as well.
Yeah.
They left it behind, and that's the simple reality. They left it behind. They've lost since that though. They've lost John Tumblety, their centre half forward. They've lost young Sam Maxwell that played in the half forward line as well. He's carrying an injury there as well.
And there could be, they are a little bit over reliant on we get like 111 from 215.
Yeah,
it's a huge chunk of your scores.
It's half your scores.
They're going to need somebody else to step up to the mark if they really get across the line. Whereas Cullion, we said if Jack Galvin is fit, they'll have that, they'll have Jack Gillen, and have other threats on the field.
Young Shane Brahan as well, of course.
So we've a lot of classy hurlers in Cullion, and
Kevin Regan at the centre of the field, really good hurler.
Robbie
Gillen.
So there's loads of guys there that could step up to the mark. And
if I give you the 50 quid now, Johnny, who would you have it on?
Look, I'd probably go with Cullion. I think it'd be Delvin Cullion final now. I'd
probably go Delvin.
You're going Delvin.
I go Delvin.
Right. Well, I'm going to balance the whole thing out, and I'm going to say Father Dalton. So we've a split decision completely on that one. But I think it's wide open. I really do. I think that could go absolutely anywhere.
It'll be a good game. It'll be a good semi-final and a good final either ways.
I think it will. Yeah, and it's what that championship needs. Maybe it needs competitive. There has to be that competitive edge. The intermediate was decided. The two semi-finals, as we've spoken a little bit about earlier on. I happened to be here for both of them. Oliver Plunkett's were here on Saturday against probably what I thought was a fairly fancied Raherney side. A lot of experience, a lot of young lads in it as well. But Plunkett's really gave them a right good go at it. And in Davy Gavin, I thought they had the best player on the pitch by an absolute country mile. I thought he was outstanding for them, in fairness. And they took them apart particularly towards the end of the game. Maybe older legs, like as you were saying, Conor Jordan was playing, Johnny Shaw, like they owe their club, they owe their county nothing. Yeah. I just thought Plunkett's, from the first couple of games I've seen them, they have stepped up that little bit of a level. And then on Sunday then we had Ringtown and Castletown here. Ringtown were very, very slow at the start. Castletown lorded it here roughly for the first 20-25 minutes, and Ringtown suddenly came to life, just got a burst of energy, got a great goal, an absolutely super goal. I think young Cunningham might have got the goal at the far end of the field. It was actually Shane Brophy, and it ignited the whole thing. I tell you what what I loved about it was on both days there was huge participation from the crowd. On both days, there was a huge crowd here from Plunkett's. Well, maybe they weren't, but they were definitely a good few in front of me in the press box, and I thought, it almost felt as if we're back. It's back to championship fever. And the Ringtown crowd, as I know from long experience, they go everywhere. They follow them all over. No matter good times, bad times, they'll keep going to them. I thought Johnny Hardiman at centre half back was immense for them. Absolutely immense. And particularly when they were under the severest of pressure, I thought, we've often spoke about this. You need some guy to put his hand up and and the likes of Johnny, he really stood up for us.
He has the experience there again.
And Pat Burke, of course, in goals. I mean, I'm saying this for a long time. He's the best goalkeeper, in my opinion, in Westmeath, and probably should have been in a maroon jersey on many occasions. But he made one very crucial save towards the end of the game. He made a little bit of a faux pas before that, but he more than made up for it towards the end of the game. So again, it's Plunkett's and Ringtown in the final. They were the two teams at the top of the division as well, of their division. And if we're going on last weekend's performance, I suppose Plunkett's are in the driving seat.
Yeah.
But as you said, a final is a final. Like, I mean, what has happened previous to this?
No, it's
open the window there and let out, lads.
The only thing about Plunkett's that I like this year, and is that there's nearly, if you look at the team, the nucleus of a team nearly that played in the county final here. I think it was, what year was it? 2013.
13, I think.
Yeah, 2013, and like they nearly got across the line that day. And Davy Gavin was one that I was hugely impressed with that day. That he was, I think it was nearly parking the bus that day. I think Kieran McKenna was manager that day, and they left Davy up on his own. But Davy was at the peak of his powers as regards football, and he was flying fit. But again, Plunkett's that day were very lucky not to beat Castletown, and I feel the likes of him now, and Kieran Curley, who's still going, playing for Westmeath, Aaron Craig at centre back, so you've got that, and then
Stevie Conway at full back, maybe.
Stevie Conway, and then Conor Bracken. So there's a huge build up of experience there, and then young, I spoke earlier on, young Zach Ahern.
Yeah.
Players like this, and a sprinkle of new talent there as well. So I think they're on the right road. I think for me, I think Plunkett's can win that. If they perform on the day, and I think they've got the tools in the armoury to do that. I think they've put in some good performances, put up some good scores. As I said, that for Harney team to beat the second team is a tough. Because again, you're talking about the likes of Eamon Owen, John Shaw, and all these guys.
There was a lot of experience.
There's a lot of experience on that side, but then
a lot of silverware in both of those, particularly from underage.
Exactly, and I'm sure Plunkett's are starting to develop really well. Their underage is starting to step up as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So it's all in. Its trajectory is going in the right way, and if they could win an intermediate, and again, I'm going to go back to it has that romance of this is the sole. Club intermediate team. This is the sole Ringtown and Plunkett. So winning this means the same thing as winning a Leinster Club Championship. Yeah. It's the same thing. This is how much does it mean? The support, being there and being behind them and backing them, that brings that feeling back into it. And that's why.
I also think, Johnny, the boost it would give to hurling and Mullingar in particular. I know Cullen are saying they're but I think the boost it would give to Mullingar, it needs. I think it needs not to say that Ringtown don't need a boost as well. It's we have to be realistic about these things. Hurling is struggling at the lower grades. Struggling a small bit. So the boost that would give either the Mullingar people for Plunkett's winning it, and as you said, for those that underage structure that's coming through, equally as so for Whitehall and surrounding area, that if Ringtown went and won a county title as well. The boost it would give them. I know they're doing an awful lot of work there with that St. Vincent's group as well. They're a combination that has worked at underage level and worked really, really hard at it. So it's an interesting. It's down to a final. Interestingly enough,
the first day out, both of them played each other. Nothing separated. It was 1-15 each. I think it was the last minute point that got an equaliser on that day.
For Plunkett's, I think. Wasn't it?
So there's not much you can tell from the first day either. Like they're both fairly evenly matched, to be fair.
Yeah, I think Plunkett's have moved on since that. If I'm honest.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you. I seen him against Clonkill in the first 15 minutes. They blew Clonkill away in the quarter final. And after that, the game was kind of a dead rubber at that stage. That far ahead.
But Ringtown are going to be like they're, I suppose we don't want to set them up to be lying in the long grass for Plunkett's either. But they still got loads of experience, like Emma Corrigan and Charlie Flynn, Darren Kilcoyne, Ian Kilcoyne. All these guys are some really good players.
Really good hurlers, really good hurlers. It's a hard one to call, isn't it now, Johnny?
It's a tough one. It just depends. Again, it's which team wants it the most and willing to do.
I think a major factor on the day of that county final will be weather conditions. If I'm honest.
Well, to be honest, I think for the rest of the year, I think it's going to be weather conditions are going to be a massive factor. Like for example, I remember back when I was over at Harney and Kilcormac Callaghy, where when they won a county final in Offaly and into the Leinster Championship, a big strong physical team, but the conditions in the winter suited them.
It did actually,
you know, and it slowed the game
I remember
down.
St Thomas's from Galway were
Galway,
very
same,
similar,
very
big
same.
physical.
Big physical
The Bucks
team.
were big physical men, and
so
the horse lads.
winter
out
hurling sometimes suits those.
It's
big
a different
teams.
animal, isn't it?
It's a different, you know. If you got them out in the field in the middle of the, I seen actually Kilcormac Cloughy pulled asunder in Croke Park.
Yeah.
One day by, I think it was one of the Antrim teams.
Dunloy. In All-Ireland final, I was at
It was
it.
an absolutely, you know, they tore them to shreds.
Yeah.
And that was the big pitch. You know,
Big
you know,
pitch,
the hard
nice
ground,
day.
nice day. All the
Yeah,
rest of
it was,
You know,
like-
I'm not taking away from Corby. I'm just saying.
But that's the truth,
You
yeah.
know, the conditions do have it, and it's the team that manages the conditions the best. They don't win you or lose you a game.
No, it
Never.
doesn't.
You know, you often hear.
But it does
win,
affect
play,
it.
Play with the win, play against the play. You know, play into all this sort of. I mean, it doesn't make any. It's a flip of a coin. You know, it's wins. It doesn't win you a game. It's really about how you adapt to it, and the players that want to really go out and put everything you've got. Because finals, like, you know, we've all had a difficult 18, 19 months. We've waited for this. These players from both Ringtown and Plunkett, from Cullion, Daltons and Delvin, you know, from Raharney, Castletown and Clonkill, every one of them want to win a title,
Yes,
you know, in their own right.
yeah.
And if that means putting your body on the line to make sure, because if you're beaten, like for example Clonkill and Castletown, the team that loses that game, it's a whole another 12 months before you get an opportunity to rectify it.
Absolutely.
You know, and careers change, lives change, everything changes. I would say,
Yes.
you know, there's
If
no
we'd
such
have
thing
known
looking
this,
down
if we'd
the
have known
road.
this 18 months ago, like how much our
Don't look
lives
down
are
the
going
road
to
and
change
say,
in that
you
period.
know, play the here and now.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And,
So we've called the senior B. We're going to ask you to call the senior hurling championship now.
Oh, the senior
And be
hurling
careful now. You have to drive home.
The senior hurling, look, on form of what I've seen so far in the games up to now, I would Castletown are for me the team that look like the most likely to win the championship if you get across against them.
Calm.
Yeah, I think we're Harney, but I think it'll be a Harney Castletown final.
I'm going to get against the whole lot of you again. I still think
three
there's a kick.
different ones,
I still think there's a kick at Clonkill. I just do. I don't know why. You know, semi-finals and finals, they come to their milk, and I think
agree.
for 4 in a row, like it just goes to show you,
Yeah.
like 3 different opinions on the intermediate, and 3 different opinions on the senior hurling championship. You know, it's an awful lot to be played for, and. I'm really looking forward to the semi-finals and finals of these championships, and I'm particularly looking forward to the intermediate final with Plunkett's and Ringtown. I think that could be a really, really good game, and I'm delighted, with no disrespect to the senior clubs whatsoever, I'm delighted it's actually 2 intermediate.
It does
clubs
help
that are there.
make Westmeath strong, because it's going to be very hard for a player to get picked for Westmeath from a second team.
Yeah.
Whereas with Plunkett's and Ringtown, it's a bit easier. It helps Westmeath. Not helps Westmeath, but it does make Westmeath stronger if you have 2 intermediate teams.
Yeah, I know. And Joe Fortune was very impressed with some of the players here on Saturday and Sunday. He was here for both games, and we were having a little chat with him after. Now, he didn't mention anybody, of course, because he's going to keep his cards close to his chest. But he was very impressed with the level of hurling in the intermediate championship, and then extremely impressed with the skill levels and the fitness levels and the sheer heart and determination in both of the senior games here at the weekend.
Yeah, like really, like in Westmeath, you know, and I'm sure Joe and his background team will have that earmarked. Is, you know, he needs to draft in as many players as he possibly can that are interested in putting on that jersey and putting the shoulder to wheel. And again, I would look not towards just this year, but I'd look towards the next 3 or 4 years. Like, you know, really what he needs to do is to pull his top 25, 26 together. And yes, you have them for this year, they're seasoned, but he probably needs another 24, 25 behind that development for year 2,
3, 4 years time.
So you're looking at 50.
And it's not as if those hurdles aren't there.
They're
Johnny.
there.
There are quite a few of them there now.
It's just this thing with intercounty teams is you bring in so many and you're cut to 30 or cut to 25 or cut to 26. In the likes of Westmeath, there is some guys who are just not ready yet. But if you had them in a next group, say developing to looking for next year, right? Okay, I have 25 or 30 lads now that are going to go for the league, go into the Lee McCarthy and contest that. But we also have another 25 in the background who are developing that 10 of those guys can step into that next year when maybe 10 guys step out.
Is that something maybe other counties are looking at, maybe
Well,
for the likes of
it,
Christy Ring, maybe entering a second team from somewhere else in the Christy Ring?
You see it there in the Camogie to do that, but most counties, you know, they see the Galways and the Kilkennys that had an intermediate team and you know, that's what. But
Cork,
I'm not calling for that. What I'd be calling for is, you know, for Westmeath to have their top 25, 20, 26 hurlers to have now, yes, and then have another group of 25 that needs to be developed. So
almost in situ.
yeah,
So,
so not to park those guys for a year.
Absolutely,
I think that's important.
that's fair enough.
And I think Jack has probably done something similar in the football.
I think that's kind of developing as we go along as well, and it's nice to see that they're both appointed, and Jack is appointed again for another 2-year term. Of course, this weekend we have football semi-finals, quarter-finals all over the place. We have Shamrocks and Garrycastle, two former greats going head to head, and then on Sunday Saturday we have St. Lomans, Mullingar and Colliery in the senior one. Again, on form, you'd have to say Lomans are probably on form. That is, I still, and Luke Dempsey was adamant here that I still think there's a little bit of a kick in Colliery. I think the other game is very 50-50. It's two ageing sides, shall we say. It's two sides that are probably in a lot of transition at this stage. It's a very hard one to call. I certainly wouldn't want to call that one. But I think the other game, I think, I'm not saying there will be a surprise, but I think it'll be a lot tougher than people are expecting. I could be completely wrong with that, but I do think Lomans are coming with an absolutely brilliant run. They've timed it to perfection. On Friday night, and this game is live, Castledaly and Milltown is live on AirVTV. Any of our viewers that are out there that want to watch it, it's live on AirVTV. All the 4 games in the intermediate and senior football championship, the 4 quarter-finals are live on AirVTV. 1 on Friday, 1 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. Castledaly and Milltown on Friday night. Again, I think Castledaly coming in off the back of a very, very heavy defeat against Ballymore, who were bottom of the table. Milltown, of course, were defeated in their last game as well. That's a little bit 50-50. The local derby, I suppose, above local derbies is Milltown Pass and St Mary's Rocher Bridge. And a lot of guys know each other. They wouldn't be the biggest of friends, shall we say, on a football field.
Friends, some of them are neighbours, but look, that's the other side of it.
I think the Bridge are coming into this one.
It might be no harm. The Bridge just got knocked out, and someone would have to talk out against each other there in 2 weeks' time if Bridge they got through after the next.
Yeah, that's true. They would have talked out together. I think I've tipped St Mary's Rocher Bridge on most of the programmes that we've had this year. I thought they were one of the most impressive teams I've seen so far this year, and I'm going to stay with them. And I think they'll go damn close to winning the Peter Geraghty Trophy, if I'm honest. 4 quarter-finals in the junior championship, and the quarter-finals in the senior and the intermediate are all on this weekend. As I said, 4 games live on AirVTV. Do join us. I think they'll be crackers. I think we'll have at least one surprise, if not maybe 2, in those games. I hope all the surprises, if my hand on my heart, I hope all the surprises are in the junior championship. But I think there will be surprises across the board from that. But look, it's been an interesting, I'm delighted. Thanks very much to Johnny Greville here, Thomas Mount, of course, as usual here on the weekly game. We'll be here, as I said, for AirVTV from Friday night. We have the game on Friday night, we have the game on Saturday, and 2 games on Sunday. Please join us. They will be enjoyable. We look forward to your company. We'll be chatting here next week about those games on our midweek game here. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you real soon. Irviabo.